We got special work to do here, you and me.
In 1984, the horror landscape was forever changed. Wes Craven spent years toiling away at a film project that almost all studios had zero faith in. Bob Shaye and New Line Cinema stepped in for the ultimate helping hand, and so it began. A Nightmare on Elm Street started its reign among the horror genre. Freddy Krueger was born with Robert Englund in the driver's seat, delivering a fresh and chilling performance. Star and final girl Heather Langenkamp was thrust into perceived stardom, and all eyes were pointed to what to do next. All eyes, that is, except Wes Craven. Wes didn't ever plan to do a sequel to Elm Street. Nobody did. But New Line saw the possibilities and went forward with trying to climb the Hollywood movies mountain with a razor-clawed Dream Master. 1985 saw the release of A Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge, a whole new story and drastically different take on Elm Street. The question is, would the fans be ready for this version of Freddy, or choose to turn their backs on him like Nancy did in Part 1? Let's get down to brass tacks. In this video, I'm going to go over reasons why fans have issues with A Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge, including 2 things that are absolutely so crazy that even the filmmakers have no answer for them. I will also attempt, if at all possible, to show how those reasons might not hold as much weight as it seems. So get your Fu Manchu finger knives, your 80s pop music, and stay away from balls in the gym at night. Here are the reasons why you hate A Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge. Number 1. Fuck the original. Director Jack Sholder was asked to direct Part 2. He said that he understood why the original Nightmare was a success, but he wasn't a big fan of it. Sholder decided that he didn't need to, nor wanted, to follow the template set by the original film and Wes Craven.
I was never a huge fan of the original. I mean, I understood why it was good and I understood why it was successful, but...
Screenwriter David Chaskin also felt the desire to move away from the mythology of Freddy and Elm Street by making Freddy's Revenge basically a possession film. Many fans disagree with this decision, and I can totally understand that. When you talk about slasher horror films, the original Nightmare was a critical and theatrical bona fide success. It would only make sense to build off of what was started. Seriously, why would you totally distort a formula that was so damn successful? It's a head scratcher and maybe a sign of erroneous ego. I mean, you do want a screenwriter and director to have absolute confidence in their abilities. Creatives sometimes live in a vacuum of their own self-made adoration. That can be a weapon to use the right way, or weighty brick that pulls you into the depths of mediocrity. Sequels can always be a tricky thing to pull off, but if the material is respected and carefully mined, you can develop new stories that are accepted by past fans and new fans alike. I'm looking at you, Dream Warriors.
Okay, asshole. Let's dance!
What's almost as unbelievable in all of this first point, and trust me, I've got several more to touch upon in a moment, is even Robert Englund was disrespected as they started filming with an extra in a rubber suit portraying Freddy. This was basically over the salary that Robert and of course his agent were asking for. Money that New Line said they didn't have. Sounds like they just wanted to cheap out. New Line hadn't realized what they had in England and why he was the magic of Freddy Krueger. Even as a kid, I noticed how weird Krueger appeared in that one scene with the extra. The bottom line to New Line is, do what you have to do to get Robert in the makeup. Bob Shaye and company not understanding this seems a bit foolish, considering that at the time you had 2 Halloween films, with Michael Myers anyways, and 3, at that point soon to be 4, Friday the 13th films. The villains were important to the stories, period, so unfortunately, there was a lot of distance placed between Freddy's revenge and the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Basically, the story is it's 5 years later after Freddy Krueger's apparent defeat. The Walshes have moved into Nancy Thompson's former home. Their teenage son Jesse has nightmares about Freddy Krueger, and go.
And you blew it! You blew it!
Number 2. Odd scenes. There is no shortage of oddness in Freddy's Revenge. For those that champion the film, the oddness is a welcome plus. That aside, there's nothing scary about the bird scene. I mean, that was just such a weird and pretty much pointless scene to have in a Nightmare on Elm Street film. Originally conceived and built as a flying demon bird, the filmmakers felt that they had to go with Plan B instead. Unfortunately, using a hyped-up poly parakeet didn't translate well into the movie. The bar scene was so out there as well, it made no sense at all. When Jesse goes there, it's like, why would you do that? He then sees the coach there who hits on him. The coach would have known that Jesse was an underage minor because of school, so how the hell did he even get in there? ID check anyone?
Yo.
But wait a minute, it gets worse. The scene when Coach takes him to the gym at night to run laps, which also makes zero sense, is ridiculous. And by the way, who gets demolished by tennis balls, basketballs, golf balls, and a demonic towel? First of all, take note that I just referenced a demonic towel.
Yo.
I can't believe that this was a thing in 1985. A character like the Coach in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, that's who. Factoid, at around 34 minutes, behind the tennis racket on the wall, you can see the heating element that's lighting up and burning the strings in two. It's very interesting because this was the first Nightmare film that I saw as a young kid, and I can remember thinking, even back then, what? Why? To be fair though, that may be a strength of this entry for many. It is extremely unique if not flawed. But let's talk about the greatest dance scene that is only rivaled by Crispin Glover from Friday 4. The filmmakers wanted Final Boy Jesse Walsh to do the dance number while cleaning his room to evoke the scene of Tom Cruise in Risky Business, released in 1983.
And you blew it! You blew it!
The dance is truly cringy in all the ways that you could ever imagine. I will give Mark Patton credit though, he commits to it. Oh, and fun fact, when Jesse is unpacking in his room and he turns on the music, he presses the fast forward button instead of the play button. One of the many goofs of this film. Did you notice this particular one? Number 3. Subtext. The homoerotic overtones were evident throughout the film. David Chaskin said he envisioned this story somewhat off of what it would be like for a young gay man to deal with his true identity inside and how that would affect others in his life. Robert Englund has famously said that for Freddy, it's always about the dare, the tension between him and the series protagonists. In Nightmare 2, Freddy wants to use Jesse as a vessel to come into the real world. He in fact wants to become Jesse. The possession angle mixed in with what Chaskin said was meant to be subtext does make Nightmare 2 stand out among all of the other big-name horror films, but there is also an oddness and an unbalanced nature to it because it doesn't fully commit to the homosexual angle, thereby creating confusion and, more importantly, losing some of the effectiveness of the underlying story inspiration. As a kid, and even as a teenager, I didn't pick up on the gay undertones at all, perhaps because Freddy was so focal in my young mind. Maybe because Lisa, played by the beautiful Kim Myers, was a girlfriend that he had that was truly kind and caring, which was a sharp contrast to how many rich girls were depicted in 80s films. Frenemy turned BFF Grady even called Jesse out on the situation with Lisa when he says, "What are you doing in my bedroom?" after Jesse had finished making out with Lisa. Now granted, when you're making out with your girlfriend and all of a sudden a Freddy tongue comes out, you might want to get out of there so she doesn't become a literal meal. Again, this is the back and forth that Jesse is at war with, Freddy and possibly his orientation. Mark Patton has claimed the film's gay subtext was increasingly emphasized through the script rewrites as production progressed. He said, quote, "It just became undeniable," he told BuzzFeed in 2016. In a 2020 interview, director Jack Shoulder said he never had any discussions with Chaskin or anybody at New Line about a gay subtext in the script during production. He did add that in his view, the movie was about, quote, "repressed sexual angst that every teenager experiences," and that, quote, "that angst can express itself in the question, am I gay?" end quote. He also pointed out that Mark Patton did not pick up on any gay subtext when he read the script, but that it was pointed out to him by one of the crew members. Some of it is people reading stuff into things, some of it was intentional, and some of it was stuff that people added that fed into that idea. Number 4, You Are All My Children Now? One of the signature scenes in Freddy's Revenge is a very hot topic of debate. After Freddy finally takes over Jesse, and I will say this transformation was a standout for the practical effects wizardry, still effective and creative to this day. But back to the magic trick of part 2, at Lisa's house when Jesse is again violated by Freddy, and don't worry, I haven't forgotten about some of the asinine dialogue that was spouted.
He can't fight me. I'm here.
That's the stupidest fucking thing I ever heard.
It's time to interrupt the pool party of teens. And I'm talking about 80,000 teens. Well, maybe not exactly that many, but it was a bunch. You get what I'm saying. Freddy reveals himself and somehow can control and direct fire like Johnny Storm. He's cutting up kids like it's nothing, even though half of them, especially the guys, are physically as imposing as he is. Come on, guys. Grow a pair and show this pizza-faced psycho that you ain't going out like that.
Yo.
Punk move, boys. Punk move. This was also a problem that Wes had with this breakage from the original's mythology, and I absolutely agree with him. Freddy Krueger is not that scary standing next to 24 almost adult men, nor should he. Freddy was designed to be a dream monster, a nightmare monster, something that every once in a while came out of the shadows and played on your deepest and darkest fears. The only real fear that he could play on in this scene is stealing all the booze and burning the hamburgers. By the way, there's nothing better than a good burger on the grill, I'm just saying. He isn't physical like Jason Voorhees, and he damn sure ain't ready to take on a town mob like Michael in Halloween Kills. And by the way, they were kicking Michael's ass for a little while. You know why? Because he was outnumbered 40-1. That's why. Now, I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy a good sermon, but Fred was preaching big time to these kids.
You are all my children now.
The "You Are All My Children Now" line was great. I loved it as a kid, and I still love it as an adult, but it is definitely a flawed moment. I mean, what can and can't Freddy do in this movie? Do we have set rules or not? He can disappear into flames, he can control flames, he's strong enough to take out these kids, but yet he's not as strong when he's dealing with Lisa. What the hell is going on? Truth be told, the filmmakers were wheeling and dealing big time with whatever they wanted to do, and they know it. What do you think of these rules/non-rules? Did it make sense to you? Did it matter? Well, here's this from the horror master himself, Wes Craven. He said, quote, "I didn't like the second script. I thought it was a silly script. There was not a clear-cut hero who remained intact. Freddy coming out of the hero really violated the viewer's ability to identify with him. I suggested that they make the girl across the street the hero. I thought it would have been much wiser to make her the central character. I also thought they brought Freddy much too much into the realm of reality and put him in situations where he was diminished. You want Freddy to always be threatening and overpowering, but when he's running around a swimming pool with a bunch of teenagers who are all bigger than he is, he starts to look really silly." Number 5, the finale. As crazy and weird as all of these points are, it's going to get even weirder. For a horror movie, the finale is a very important part of what people will judge it by. In the case of Freddy's Revenge, I don't know what they were thinking at all.
And you blew it! You blew it.
Lisa decides to go to the factory instead of the boiler room from the original. Again, a change in mythology. And she does this alone. Why alone? Couldn't you have brought someone? Or maybe a weapon? Or, I don't know, the cops? Of course, they wouldn't believe Lisa, but that's when you start using your human creativity and lie. Anyway, she confronts Freddy Jesse and pleads with him to fight Freddy to regain his control. She professes her love for him, and somehow that is what defeats Freddy. Now wait a minute, that's it? I mean, even the cheap-looking demon-faced dog things have more legitimacy than this. I know they wanted to use the love conquers all theme here, but I don't think that the execution of it was good. The movie peaked at the pool party scene, and this battle was timid at best.
Yeah.
The stinger at the end was much stronger and was a great callback to the beginning of the film when Jesse has his first nightmare.
It's okay. It's all over.
Seeing the bus go off into the desert was actually a sign of relief that reclaimed Freddy's strength to me as a viewer, because now I can question a lot of the wacky choices made throughout this movie. Plus, it set up his return, which was also very cool, especially when I first saw it as a kid. A Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge is a unique entry in the series and will make you ask a lot of questions. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe blowing up the formula and not giving the fans a standard follow-up helped the longevity of the character and the movies. Who knows for sure? At the end of the day, Freddy's Revenge happened, and we as fans deal with it in our own way. As always, this video is not here to make you love A Nightmare on Elm Street 2. It's simply a discussion to highlight the history and aspects of it with horror fans. So what do you think? Are you a fan of Freddy's Revenge? If so, tell us why. If not, let's discuss why you hate A Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge. If you haven't hit the like button for more content, please do. If you're not subscribed to the Nightwatch Zone, this is the time to do it. Do it and become part of this fantastic movie community where you'll never love and talk about movies the same. If you like this video, check out some of my other Why You Hate videos and other content here, and I'll see you there. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Nightwatch. Peace.